You felt alone next to her, and that was the beginning of the end. Because there's a silence louder than words, a distance deeper than miles. You were right there, but somehow, she couldn't feel you anymore. And maybe that's what hurt the most. Not the breakup, not the goodbye, but the moment you realized she was already gone, while still lying next to you. There's a certain kind of loneliness that doesn't happen when you're alone. It happens in a shared bed, in whispered I love yous that don't feel real anymore, in the way her back turned to you felt like a wall you'd never climb again. She didn't need to scream, she didn't need to fight. She just stopped trying. And maybe you did too. Maybe you thought being there was enough. Maybe you thought showing up meant she'd stay. But you missed something vital. Because masculinity isn't just presence, it's energy, direction, weight. And somewhere along the way you lost yours. You became safe, predictable, a shadow of what once made her chase you. She stopped feeling your edge, stopped seeing your ambition, stopped feeling chosen, and then she started to drift. She smiled less, laughed quieter, looked through you. You told yourself it was just a phase, but deep down you knew. You just didn't want to admit it. You knew you had become a man she respected, but no longer desired, a man she depended on, but no longer dreamed of, and that silent shift, it shattered something inside you, something primal, something you didn't know had a name. You weren't abandoned, you were forgotten, in plain sight. And now you're here, asking yourself a question you never thought you'd have to. How do you lose someone who was still right next to you? You felt alone next to her because you stopped being the man she once admired. Not overnight. Not because of one mistake, but because slowly, quietly, you started living on autopilot. You thought love was enough. You thought consistency would carry you. You forgot that masculine energy isn't just about being there. It's about leading, holding direction, providing safety not just with comfort, but with conviction. She needed to feel your gravity, but you became weightless. That alpha mindset she once craved, gone, replaced by comfort, numb routines, and passive affection. You stopped chasing purpose, stopped chasing growth. And when a man stops chasing something greater than himself, he starts shrinking. Self-improvement isn't a luxury, it's survival, it's attraction. It's what makes a woman look at you and feel something ancient in her chest. Respect, desire, trust. But when she looked at you, she saw a man who had plateaued. And even if she still loved you, she couldn't feel pulled toward you anymore. Because she didn't leave when she walked out the door. She left the moment she realized you stopped evolving. She left the moment your masculinity became predictable, the moment she no longer felt claimed, but tolerated. This is why you felt alone. Not because she changed, but because you did. Because you stopped being who you were, to become who you thought she needed. And in trying to be safe, you became invisible. It starts small. She forgets to say goodnight, doesn't ask about your day. You reach for her under the covers and she shifts away just slightly. You tell yourself it's nothing, she's tired, busy, stressed, but the truth is sharper. She's slipping through your fingers, and you're pretending not to notice. You try to fix it. You become nicer, more agreeable. You avoid conflict. You walk on eggshells to protect what's already fading. And that's when she begins to look elsewhere. Not always at another man, sometimes just at another version of life. One where she doesn't have to shrink herself to match your energy. One where she feels something again. You think you're doing everything right. You're present. You're loyal. You're supportive. But she doesn't want a roommate. She wants polarity. That raw, untamed edge that made her feel like a woman in your presence. And that part of you? You buried it. Because the world told you it was too much. Told you to be softer, less intense, more available, more emotionally open. But you forgot balance. You swung so far into comfort that you lost the fire. Rejection doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just stops reaching. You stopped being unpredictable. You stopped leading, stopped commanding the space around you. Masculine energy isn't about dominance, it's about direction, certainty, weight. A man without purpose is a ghost. A man without tension is forgettable. She didn't want you to explain your feelings. She wanted to feel you again, but all she got her was silence, emotional stillness. A man waiting for her to decide the future, while she waited for you to take the wheel. That's the tragedy. Both of you were waiting, both starving, both slowly dying next to each other. You felt alone next to her because you stopped showing up as a man with mission. You started looking to her for validation, for answers, for reassurance. And in doing so, you reversed the polarity. You gave her the burden of leadership, and she resented you for it, not because she hated you, but because she wanted to follow you. She wanted to trust your direction. She wanted to rest in your certainty, but you gave her your doubt, your indecision, your passivity, and she began to shut down. You asked her what was wrong. She said nothing, but there was a storm behind her eyes. One she didn't trust you to handle because you weren't handling your own life, your own vision, your own inner world. You stopped being her escape and became another weight. A man becomes magnetic when he moves with purpose, when he builds, creates, dominates his own mind, not through force, but through clarity, through restraint, through mastery. You didn't lose her love. You lost her admiration. And once a woman stops admiring you, it's only a matter of time. You felt alone next to her because she stopped feeling held even in your arms, because masculinity isn't volume, it's presence, it's depth, it's stillness that commands a room. And you gave that away in exchange for peace, but peace without power is just silence. You stopped evolving, stopped pushing, stopped becoming, and in that stillness she drifted. Her body was close, but her soul had already packed its bags. You saw it, in her eyes, in the way she stopped reaching for your hand, stopped waiting at the door, stopped laughing at your jokes, and you said nothing. You just hoped it would pass. But hope is not a strategy, and love is not enough. You have to be more than a good guy. You have to be dangerous, Gao, with control, capable of violence, but ruled by discipline, focused, driven, unshakable. She needed to feel your gravity, and you became light, airy, neutral, safe. She didn't want safety. She wanted certainty. She wanted to melt into your leadership, to lose herself in your intensity. And when that vanished, so did the desire. Now you sit in the silence she left behind, asking yourself where it all went wrong. But the truth? It didn't go wrong, it just went unled. You let things drift, let purpose die, let your edge dull. And she followed your lead, into indifference. She didn't stop loving you. She just stopped feeling you. And maybe the worst part is realizing you did this. You gave her everything, except the man she fell for. You became softer so she'd stay. And in doing so, you gave her no reason to. Now you lie awake, haunted by the sound of her silence. Not because she's gone, but because you stayed, and you hate who you became just to be loved. You used to chase greatness, now you chase her memory. You used to command respect, now you beg for crumbs of attention. She didn't leave you. She left the version of you that stopped being a man. There's a moment every man faces, a moment where the mirror doesn't lie anymore, where the excuses don't work, where the comfort becomes poison. You can blame her. Say she changed. Say she stopped trying. But deep down you know the truth. She stopped trying because you stopped leading. You became passive, waiting for life to happen, waiting for her to save the connection you were supposed to protect. Now the room is quiet. No footsteps, no perfume, just echoes of what used to be. You scroll through photos, replaying moments like they'll bring her back. But this isn't about her anymore. It's about you. You need to reclaim your edge, your direction, your masculine core. That part of you that builds, that walks into chaos and creates order, that speaks little but moves with purpose. Self-improvement isn't about attracting women. It's about remembering who the hell you are. Before the world softened you, before love tamed you, before comfort stole your fire. You were meant to be powerful, not in dominance, but in discipline, not in anger, but in stillness, not in chasing, but in becoming. You felt alone next to her because you forgot who you are without her. But this is not the end. It's the beginning, the invitation to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim, to become the man no one dares to leave, because your presence is unforgettable. You don't need her back. You need you back. And when that happens, you won't feel alone anymore, because you'll carry something stronger than her love. You'll carry respect for yourself. If this hits something deep, don't scroll. Write it. Say it. Feel it. The world doesn't need more numb men. It needs men who remember who they are. Comment if you've been there. Maybe someone will read it. Maybe you'll remind someone to wake up.